ਸਾਡੇ ਭਾਈ ਜਗਮੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਉਹ ਜੇ ਹਾਰ ਗਏ ਨੇ ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਬੜਾ ਚੰਗਾ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹਾਰੇ ਹੋ everything happens and Justin just goes in the end. Rahul Gandhi or Justin can party together now. I think Jeff Lal zindabad. Jeff Lal to me is the hero of this election.
What happens to Trudeau?
I think Justin has a great future in Punjabi cinema. He can go dim lak lak dim dim lak lak wo naach sakta hai. It will be Justindra and Diljit. Imagine Justin dancing to Sidhu Moosewala. Rahul batayega wo kitna Italian hai. Justin batayega wo kitna Punjabi hai.
Let's tell Jagmeet Singh kaun hai and why was he a problematic leader in the Canadian government and how his interests were against India.
One are pretend Khalistanis who just know where their bread is buttered, so they just play along, right? They are not true believers. Jagmeet Singh is a true believer. The story of this election is we started with Chinese interference, added the googly of Indian interference, but actually it was the American interference that screwed the conservatives over. He believes उसने वो पूरा चूरण खाया भी है और snort भी किया है cocaine के जैसे. So he's very very dangerous. Listen, Trudeau was really a पागल आदमी. It's the Trudeau Jagmeet combination. Now that both of them are gone, ना थोड़ा sanity in discourse आएगा. Canadians are very touchy about that. So when an American comes and does ungli, मैं तेरे को 51st state बना दूंगा kind of a thing. Actual Chinese interference in Canadian politics. And Canada is California on steroids. Mark my words, this is not a Khalistani Jagmeet NDP. Now this is just Gora man NDP. Negotiations change. Absolutely batshit crazy disgruntled Hindu Indian vote. They just wasted their vote. This is like, उन्होंने बोला जा मैं जाके नोटा करके आता है.
Hi Kushal, welcome to the pamphlet. हम लोग डिस्कस करेंगे थोड़ा कनाडा के इलेक्शंस के बारे में. आज ही वो आ रहा है, रिजल्ट्स आ रहे थे, वोटिंग हैपेंड एंड मार्क कार्नी सेट टू बिकम द प्राइम मिनिस्टर अगेन. उनका माइनॉरिटी गवर्नमेंट बन रही है. तो लेट अस स्टार्ट कि गिव अस अ लो डाउन कि क्या हुआ, व्हाट टू एक्सपेक्ट.
So first of all, I would like to start by saying ਸਾਰੇ ਲੂਜ਼ਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪ੍ਰਣਾਮ. ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਜਗਮੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ, ਸਾਡੇ ਭਾਈ ਜਗਮੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਉਹ ਜੇ ਹਾਰ ਗਏ ਨੇ ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਬੜਾ ਚੰਗਾ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹਾਰੇ ਹੋ. ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਪੂਰੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧਾਈਆਂ. ਪ੍ਰਣਾਮ ਲੂਜ਼ਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ. Now to the serious bit. So how do we look at this election? This election was, if I would ever say, started off as actual Chinese interference in Canadian politics. Trudeau messing up the economy, messing up the immigration, messing up everything that was working in Canada, going down completely in popularity. Trudeau bringing up the India interference bogey to get away from the China interference bogey. Then Trudeau leaves because Donald Trump becomes president. And it was just too hot to handle for Trudeau. In comes Mark Carney. Now, some people need to understand a very important aspect of Canadian identity is we are not America. Canadians are very touchy about that. So when an American comes and does ungli, मैं तेरे को 51st state बना दूंगा kind of a thing. So they got very irritated. And what happened was the entire NDP bloc, जो NDP का पूरा वोट है ना, it just en masse went to the freaking liberals. Like it went like I have never seen before. Like as of now, when I was looking at the elections Canada results page, right, and I was just looking at the live results. They're still counting, right? It's as of now 98.8% of polls have been reported. The overall out of the registered electors 66.46%, which is not that bad for Canada. And NDP ki vote percentage has come down to 6.2%. And liberals are at 43.5% and conservatives are at 41.4%. So conservatives did really well. They went up a lot. But the problem is that, see, Canada, for those who, like I said, we're not America. And Canada is California on steroids. They're a very left-wing society. When a right-wing Republican comes and does ungli, they all rallied behind the left. So the Conservatives did turn out to vote. So the story of this election is we started with Chinese interference, added the googly of Indian interference, but actually it was the American interference that screwed the Conservatives over. And I think Conservatives really made a hash out of the election. There are so many points that I can criticize them on. Like when Trump said what he said, I just don't think the Conservative Party's communication to Trump was very sensible. I think they should have handled it much better. It was just wishy-washy stuff. I don't know what was happening. And the Conservative Party of Canada is run in a very dictatorial way by one woman who runs the show over there, Jenny Byrne. And she was just running the show, and nobody was really allowed to give any input. So that is one aspect. And you have to understand that nobody wins Canada without winning what is called the 905. 905 is the phone ka code, which is the Greater Toronto Area, the GTA. So the Liberals won the GTA, and the Liberals won the government and the election. And in the GTA region, out of those 24 plus give and take ridings, 18 ridings are where Indians live in wholesale. And guess what? I mean, the Conservatives did well in those areas in terms of increase in vote percentage compared to 2021. That was a COVID hit election. Conservatives really did not have strategy. But eventually, Conservatives again messed that up. Last year, they canceled the Diwali event, if you remember. It's been all downhill. It's like snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. This is the story of this election. I cannot believe that as of now, as I speak with you, it is what 1:30 in the afternoon here, and we're going to have 168 seats for Liberals. They're just four short of an absolute majority. They're four short of an absolute majority. They are easily going to run this government with NDP 7 seats because NDP does not have Jagmeet. Jagmeet has resigned as a leader of the party too. So this is a different NDP. Mark my words. This is not a Khalistani Jagmeet NDP. Now this is just Gora man NDP. Negotiations change. Jagmeet is crazy. So imagine and notice the difference in the campaign, right? Carney never went to a Khalistani day parade. कार्नी की कोई भी फोटो खालिस्तानी के साथ नहीं आई है. आप चेक करो उसका पूरा कैंपेन. शो मी वन फोटो. या वो सेवा करने गुरुद्वारे में गया, उसमें क्या प्रॉब्लम है? बट पियर हमारे ऐसे ऐसे हाथ घुमा रहे थे खालिस्तानी परेड में, ऐसे ऐसे. And you know what the funny thing is? Like, listen, I have connections in Canada. I know people, and I would constantly tell them, like, are you guys retarded? What are you guys doing? You're turning Indians off. I was like, you keep assuming Indians are Khalistani. I was like, there are Khalistanis and then there are Indians. Hindu, Sikh, Christian, Muslim, all kinds. They don't like this stuff. And they kept on doing it. And look at what the funny bit is that in Brampton, especially where Indians are in the highest numbers. Brampton में कितनी है अभी? Brampton की सीट्स हैं, अब मैं आपको बताता हूँ. Brampton has 6 ridings, यानी कि constituencies. Conservatives won only one. 5 won by the Liberals. The one the Conservatives won, उधर वो वोट कट हुआ, PPC नहीं था, Maxim Bernier. And they won by a slight margin. The other 5, the margin difference between the Conservatives and the Liberals is basically what votes the PPC got. So the absolutely batshit crazy disgruntled Hindu Indian vote, they just wasted their vote. This is like, उन्होंने बोला जा मैं जाके नोटा करके आता है. That's what they did. And they lost 5 seats like that. 5. Now, if they would have lost this 5 and they would have lost few others due to bad strategies, what we would have had in that scenario was, I was hoping, a 150, 155 conservative and 155, 160 liberal, that kind of a scenario. But it didn't happen. You're going to have a liberal government for the next 4 years very comfortably. There is not a chance of a re-election. They're just 4 short of a majority. So that's the story of this election.
Correct. But now let's talk about your favorite Jagmeet Singh. Let's talk about. I want tell me all you have जो भी दिल में भड़ास हो उसके लिए कि first of all, let us start कि who is Jagmeet Singh? Let's tell Jagmeet Singh kaun hai, and why was he a problematic leader in the Canadian government, and how his interests were against India?
So, long story short, Jagmeet, see, there are two kinds of Khalistanis in Canadian politics. One are pretend Khalistanis who just know where their bread is buttered, so they just play along, right? They're not true believers. Jagmeet Singh is a true believer. You have to understand that this kid is a real believer. He believes. उसने वो पूरा चूरण खाया भी है और snort भी किया है cocaine के जैसे. So he's very, very dangerous. And this guy, I remember being told about him first in 15, 16, when he just came up, when he was just an activist. So he came up through this organization, I remember, called the Sikh Youth Network or something. And then later on, that organization was disbanded. Like, his entire story is narrated by Balraj Deol, a veteran Punjabi journalist of Canada, on my own podcast 2-3 years ago. And how Jagmeet Singh ke liye they actually rigged the primaries of the NDP. They made him the leader. How they rigged it and he came up. And there is a famous video of Jagmeet Singh alongside Shamsher Singh in UK, where there is an open call of violence. That video is very famous on the internet. It's all over the internet. I think that guy's name is Shamsher Singh, the Khalistani. I think Republic ने इसके ऊपर sting भी किया था, या Republic या Times Now किसी ने एक ने किया था. So that's Jagmeet Singh for you. He's a Khalistani, and he's not a pretend Khalistani. Like, पैसों के लिए मैं कुछ भी बन जाएगा. He's not that Sprite का ad कि लोगों को पैसे दो कुछ भी बोल डालते हैं. No, no, no. This guy actually believes in using violent means for those things. And it's really good that this guy has lost, because he sanctioned every batshit crazy policy that Justin Trudeau had. He kept on pushing the government because he wanted his pension. So he's not only Jagmeet Singh, he's Hugmeet Singh, he's Pension Singh, he's Sellout Singh. He has many names in Canada. So you can pick your name. And I can tell you, I'm going to party tonight. I am dead serious. I am so happy that Jagmeet has lost. I can't express my happiness, because he was so bad for Canada. And listen, I've never hidden. I am a person with dual loyalties. I love two countries. I don't love one country. I love India and Canada both. So I'm so happy from a Canadian's perspective that this Nasur on our society in Canada has lost. He's very bad. And I'm glad the NDP has also lost this guy, because now there will be a new leadership race in the NDP. Some crazy cuckoo lefty will come, but at least he will not be a Khalistani lefty. That's my thing.
Right. Uh, so that this brings me to the pro-Khalistani movement in Canada. Canada, over the years, decades, has been a very safe haven for the pro-Khalistani activists who have escaped India and have been living there. It's the history is all for out for all to read. But over the past few years, the pro-Khalistani activist or terrorist or extremist, so to say, they have been carrying out a lot of anti-Hindu activities on the Canadian soil. There have been things like attacks on Hindus, the targeted attacks on temples, gurudwaras, and a lot of anti-Modi, anti-India graffiti has been placed across the country. How do you see, with the new government coming into power? Do you see that this anti-Hindu, anti-India rhetoric that has been played by the pro-Khalistani folks will come down, especially now with Jagmeet Singh out of the picture?
यार जगजीत सिंह तो बहुत अच्छा गायक था यार.
Jagjit
मतलब
Singh. Apologies
it
to Jagjit
the
Singh. Yeah,
greatest Sikh singer in my opinion, Jagjit Singh. बहुत अच्छे
right,
गाने
right.
गाते थे. So that's a good question, and honestly, even I've been pondering over it. So the early signs is that Mark Carney is not going to, play footsie with the Khalistanis beyond requirement. That is my understanding. So it's very interesting. What if I told you that per capita there were more Khalistani candidates this time fighting for an election under the conservatives than the liberals? So total Sikh candidates that fought an election under the conservatives this time was 23, while the liberals were 17. Obviously, not all of them are Khalistani, but most of them are Khalistani, either Khalistani or Khalistani adjacent. Matlab basically they're subservient to the Khalistani. Not all, again, some are not. And don't assume that only a Sikh is a Khalistani. Okay, this shagufa needs to end. A Punjabi is a Khalistani in Canada. They can be Hindu too. So all your viewers need to get over this delusion that in Canada हिंदू तो खालिस्तानी हो ही नहीं सकता. बिल्कुल हो सकता है मित्रों, आपको कोई आइडिया नहीं है वहां पे क्या होता है. वहां पे जो बिकाऊ हिंदू हैं, खास तौर पे जो टेम्पल ट्रस्टीज हैं, उसकी उसकी आई डोंट वांट टू डिविएट. सो the Khalistanis, what happened was they were looking at the polls, so they tried to capture the CPC, the Conservative Party of Canada, and they just went the whole hog over there. और जैसे वो पाकिस्तानी मीम है ना, वक्त बदल गया, जज्बात बदल गए, तकदीरें बदल गई, ट्रंप आ गया, ट्रूडो चले गया, ट्रंप की वजह से कार्नी जीत गया. Now for the Khalistanis to reinvest back into the Liberal Party, they have, you know, the Sukh Dhaliwals who won, and some others have won, you know, who are sitting MPs. And Sukh Dhaliwal, for those who don't know, is the man who tried to put the motion on the floor of the House to reopen the Air India bombing investigation. That is Sukh Dhaliwal. He's in the Liberal Party. He won, by the way. Fir jeet gaya, bhai sahab. So let's see how Carney handles all of that. That motion would have passed if not for one Hindu MP, Chandra Arya, who said nay, and that motion got knocked down. Chandra Arya is the guy who's not given the ticket by the Liberal Party. That's where Mark Carney fought the election from, Nepean. So just to give everybody a context. And it's very hard for me to put a definitive bet on where the relations of the Khalistanis and the Liberal Party will be right now. They have already made so many investments. What I want to see is what do the Khalistanis do with Pierre now? Because as we speak, Pierre is losing his own seat, Carlton. He's losing in this election. So if he loses, then he has to wait for a bipole to happen in a safe seat where he fights again and then he comes into the parliament through that. This is like Mamta Banerjee जीत गई मगर खुद का इलेक्शन हार गई. यहाँ पे वो पार्टी भी हार गई और ये हीरो खुद भी हार गया. आप समझो. So it's going to be very interesting what happens. As far as the Hindu community and their standing in Canada is concerned, I think the Hindu community's electoral importance post this election will increase. Voting percentages have not been bad. Hindus are known for not voting. This time, voting percentages are not that bad in Brampton also. The country average is 66%. Hindus are also, Hindu ridings, Sikh ridings are also in and around that, 65, 66%. So you can't say Hindus did not turn out to vote. Like I was just looking at Elections Canada ka numbers and all of that. So if Hindus are also voting, then we set the cat amongst the pigeons. Then what do these politicians do? Let's see. I don't see. I have a hunch Carney might avoid the Khalistanis. He might entertain them at the superficial level, but because I'll tell you why. Since I've been in India last 2-3 months, my sources in the MEA have been telling me that the Canadians, since Carney took over, have been consistently reaching out to India, pleading with India to fix relations, and India basically goes, "Chal bhag idhar se."
Interesting. Um, that leaves us with Justin Trudeau. Where does Justin Trudeau go from here? The absolute Khalistan simping that he did with Jagmeet, and now the two of them. What happens to Trudeau?
He goes to Punjabi cinema. I think Justin has a great future in Punjabi cinema. He can go dim lak lak, dim dim lak lak. वो नाच सकता है. Daljit Dosanjh can make songs with Justin Trudeau, and you know it will be Justindra and Daljite both can sit together and sing and dance, and then you know, imagine Justin dancing to Sidhu Moosewala. You know, everything happens and Justin just goes "Blah!" in the end. So that, I think that's the future of Justin Trudeau. He's made his money, यार. He is a spoiled brat. अरे उसके बाप के पास बहुत पैसे थे भाई, उसको क्या फर्क पड़ता है. इतना टाइम प्रधानमंत्री रहा, दबा के पैसे बनाया, अभी निकल जाएगा वो, उसको क्या फर्क पड़ता है. वो रोज पार्टी करेगा भाई, अपना हीरो है वो, उसके पास बहुत पैसा है, उसको क्या लेना देना है. उसको कोई लेना देना नहीं है. ही इज हिस्ट्री इन कैनेडियन पॉलिटिक्स. वो है ना, वो ऐसा, वो जिसको बोलते हैं ना, वो ऐसा नश्तर है जिसको हाथ लगाएगा उसकी वाट लग जाएगी. तो उसको कोई हाथ नहीं लगाना चाहता अभी. वो जिसके
तो अब
जहां जहां
राहुल
पैर
गांधी
पड़े सन सन
किसकी
के वहां
कॉपी
बंटा धार.
करेंगे?
राहुल
अब
गांधी पता
राहुल
नहीं है.
गांधी किसकी कॉपी करेंगे?
नहीं, राहुल गांधी उनके साथ ही चले जाएगा ना. राहुल गांधी और जस्टिन कैन पार्टी टुगेदर नाउ, आई थिंक.
As we Rahul Gandhi likes to party during times of crisis, so
ओ
wouldn't be
या,
too surprised.
दोनों थाईलैंड में घूम सकते हैं ना. पटाया या थाईलैंड में, दोनों को अच्छा लगता है घूमने को, तो दोनों को घुमा देंगे. जस्टिन एंड राहुल दोनों साथ में. राहुल बताएगा वो कितना इटालियन है, जस्टिन बताएगा वो कितना पंजाबी है.
ठीक है. Okay, and to bring it all to a conclusion, what do you think? How do you see with the new government and its relationship with India on the diplomatic level going forward? Do you think the relationship which reached the very, very down bottom during Trudeau time, you think that will go on a better trajectory going forward?
It will improve. It will improve beyond that, obviously. आई विल नॉट लाई. मतलब इधर बैठ के झूठ बोल के कोई मतलब नहीं है. इट विल इम्प्रूव फ्रॉम वेयर वी वर, इंडिया एंड कैनेडा. Most people don't realize, where does Mark Carney come from? Brookfield. Brookfield से है वो. I want all Indians to check the investments of Brookfield in India. ज़्यादा नहीं है, 30 बिलियन है. So समझ जाओ बाकी. भाई को अपना पैसा भी तो देखना है ना. इतना पैसा है इंडिया में, तो भाई आएगा तो थोड़ा तो बोलेगा, भाई मेरा पैसा इतना लगा हुआ है, क्या कर रहे हो तुम लोग. कैनेडियन पेंशन फंड्स भी तो बचाने हैं, और भी बहुत सारी चीजें बचानी है. दे विल मेंड द रिलेशन. Listen, Trudeau was really a pagal aadmi. Trudeau or Jagmeet Singh. More than Trudeau, it's the Trudeau Jagmeet combination. Now that both of them are gone, na thoda sanity in discourse aayega. I am actually very cautiously optimistic about it. In fact, I was not that cautiously optimistic if Pierre would have won. India-Canada relations would not have improved under Pierre Poilievre because his party was so captured by the Khalistanis. Tim Uppal as Pierre likes to call him, Tim Uppal. तो अभी तो टिम उप्पल जी का क्या होगा फ्यूचर में देखते हैं. वो जीत तो गए हैं और उनका नेता हार गया है, तो अभी कंजर्वेटिव पार्टी में तो लीडरशिप रेस होने के भी आसार लग रहे हैं. लेट्स सी व्हाट हैपेंस. कौन खड़ा होता है भाई. अगर पीयर अपना इलेक्शन ही हार गया, तो व्हाट इफ पीपल स्टैंड अप एंड से वी नीड अ न्यू लीडर इन द कंजर्वेटिव पार्टी. आई डोंट नो, आई डोंट केयर व्हाट हैपेंस देयर, बट आई एम जस्ट सेइंग. सो देयर आर मेनी थिंग्स, बट आई थिंक इंडिया कनाडा रिलेशंस विल स्लोली इंप्रूव इन द ईयर और टू टाइम. अभी तो नया नया प्रधानमंत्री आएगा कार्नी, थोड़ा तो टाइम दो ना उसको.
Correct. नहीं, we'll come back to it in 6 months' time and see how things have gone further with India and Canada. Any final word on the elections before we conclude the chat?
वेल, आई वुड से इस इलेक्शन में 3-4 थिंग्स स्टूड अप फॉर मी. द हीरो इज जेफ लाल, द पीपीसी कैंडिडेट इन ब्रैम्पटन. So the story is, Jeff Lal made around 3,000 Conservative Party members. Conservatives ने उसको टिकट नहीं देके किसी और को टिकट दे दी. वो आदमी पीपीसी के लिए खड़ा हुआ, मर्द 2200 वोट काटा. तो जेफ लाल टू मी इज द हीरो ऑफ दिस इलेक्शन. वो अमर अकबर एंथनी का सीन था ना, तुम हमको पंच मारा, लात मारा, घूसा मारा, मगर हम तुमको एक मारा, मगर सॉलिड मारा ना. सो दैट इज द लास्टिंग मेमोरी.
Oh, this feels like Sandeep Dixit doing it for the the Delhi elections.
मजा आ गया. आई लव इट. जेफ लाल जिंदाबाद.
Right. ठीक है. Anything else?
नहीं, बस सब लोग पार्टी करो, जगमीत सिंह हारा है.
Excellent. And if you are in Delhi, I'll come over and we'll party together.
चलो, बाय बाय.
ठीक है. Chalo. Bye bye. Thank you so much for joining us.